Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM21 story, The Head Coach with me, Daniel. For the second time in this series, in part 94 today, is something a little bit different. And the reason for that is we are back 10 years in the future, after 10 years in charge of various clubs, to have a quick flashback at how things have been going on in our career. We'll also take a look at the English and Scottish pyramids where we've spent our career so far. And we'll see what the footballing world's been doing, who's been succeeding at club and international level. And review our 10 years, because for the first time, we've reached this stage of a head coach save and we have not had a sacking. That is something that may change in the future, but for now is incredible. Also at the 10-year mark, we've won a number of titles as well, which is something we've not often done before. Some of them we've never reached the elite level, and the ones we have, it's normally taken longer than this. So if you're looking forward to finding out how our former clubs are getting on, some of our stars we've met along the way, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Yes, we will have a look at Pat Nevin for those of you that have been here the whole time. If you want to stay up to date, subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on. You'll get alerts as daily videos released from 2 long-term stories, as well as extra little bonus ones such as the Scotland in the Euro series, which started last weekend, and there's links to all of those in the eye above. There's also a link to the Food Channel trailer up there too, and to the Twitch channel where we regularly live stream in the description down below. But thank you as always for your incredible support. And let's start by having a look at our profile. So I'm afraid you're in spoiler territory now. We're back not long after the end of our season at Tottenham, and we just want to have a look at our stats, our reputation and how things are going. It was our 500th game as a manager in the last one of this season, and we've gone to a 4.5-star reputation. I don't think we've ever reached that level. We're in a position here that I didn't think was possible within 10 years, particularly the way we play the game. We've just had that 1 in a million career where we've just gone through the ranks like that. It's something we've never seen in previous years. We probably won't see in the future, but we're going to make the most of it this time. Our attributes, bar some of the coaching ones, are warming up absolutely brilliantly. I don't really get why we're so weak at working with youngsters when that's what we've done for most of our career, but otherwise we couldn't have any complaints. Of course, after the last 5-year review where we'd have 5 clubs in 5 years, it's been a little bit calmer this time. We did move on from Derby not long after to join Southampton, but them and Tottenham been our only 2 clubs in this 5 years. So, not many new ones to review, and hopefully that means it's a little bit easier to go back and look at. We've now been in 7 club management jobs rather than 5. Our longest time at a club has changed because we were at Southampton for a significant period, and we've been here for a significant period too. Though, as I said in the last episode, I wouldn't be shocked if this one's coming to an end now. Still no shorter stint than Arbroath, that one stays at 162 days. The awards are flying in, the career earnings certainly going up pretty quickly, and of course still the only time we've spent on holiday is when we've been waiting for a job offer. In terms of the players bought and sold, now we're at the top level, we're starting to see a massive rise in those figures. The biggest fee being spent was last summer, 75 million for Simone Scotta here, and at our previous club Southampton we received 71 for Ant Folwell. They're still the 2 biggest deals of our career. We've released 19 players, we've paid a lot of money to agents, but all of that is in the hands of our various directors of football. What's more important here though is the fact that at Tottenham we've added 4 trophies to our cabinet. That takes our total to 7 and over doubles our career success rate. So we'll have a look at all of that, but we've had 500 games as a manager now. Our win percentage is 55, just over that as we won 278. We've lost 124 and drawn 98. Our goal difference is pretty sickening. I think you can see that we create attacking sides. Throughout our whole career, we've conceded more than a goal a game. We've scored nearly 2 a game. We're a brilliant side to watch, if nothing else. So we've got to enjoy the positives there. Let's have a look at our job history though. We had a promotion and a title with Brechin, and we also had the Scottish Cup win with Dundee. Still probably my favourite moment of the save that, despite some of the other brilliant ones we've had in the last 5 years. But then at Tottenham, last season we won the Premier League, and this season the League Cup, the FA Cup, and that final game in the Champions League. A wonderful, wonderful season. And we've now won all the big 4 in England. We can move on and look for another big club. Fingers crossed we'll get one this summer. Might even be a nation, who knows? But before we get to our clubs in the last 5 years, let's have a look at some of our older ones and how they're getting on. First up is Brechin City, who we took up to Scottish League 1. We then saw them go back down the following season while we were partly at Arbroath. Let's see how they're doing now. Brechin City are 8th in Scottish League 2. So unfortunately, after a little bit of yo-yoing, so that's the season we took them up, 21-22. They went down, up, down, and that was when we last came back. And since then, they've gone back to being a mid-table Scottish League 2 side. Their key player is a player called Stuart Campbell, who isn't very good. Now, are any of our originals there? I highly doubt it, but let's have a look just in case. I don't recognise any of those names. So I think, unfortunately, every single player we had at Brecon City, if we just check the reserves as well, has now moved on. Those ones, they're too young, it's impossible. But I'm afraid no players survived from our Brecon City team. So that's a little bit of a sad one. Has anything special happened? Any competitions? Any landmarks? No. No titles since we were there, unfortunately. Probably what we expected. Let's go and have a look at our second club, Arbroath, who went up in Scottish League 1. That was after they blew the title when we'd left them 14 points clear. And since then, much the same. Down, up, down. We were part of that up season there. Then they came back down again, and they've just been gradually getting worse each season. So they finished second, fourth, sixth, and now seventh. Their key player is Alan Chisholm, who I don't think was there when we joined. No, he wasn't. He was still a Celtic youngster then. Let's have a look if there's any others in there. I tell you what, I think there's one. I recognise Kieran Wright in goal. He was there in 2021. So Kieran Wright is still involved between the sticks. Did he start my season or was he back up? No, he started. So our first choice keeper from the third season with Arbroath is still there and is still their number one. That's an incredible feat. Fair play to the kid. You've got to give him credit. And 7 years on, he's still playing first team football for them. So that's a nice thing to see. Let's move on to Dundee though. They were the first big break we had. They gave us a chance because we were managing well at a fairly local club. And we delivered with an unbelievable success in the Scottish Cup final. Carlton Morris still the hero of the save. We finished 5th that season. We were 6th for the next one and we took them into Europe, of course. They did have a relegation just a few years ago. They came straight back up and they finished 10th and now they finished 6th. So they're obviously taking advantage and improving. Now their captain, interestingly, is Josh Mulligan, who was one of the youngsters when we were here. He's not really improved a huge amount, but he's got a good average rating, so fair enough. Gary Allison, he was at Southampton before. I did recognise his name, but not from Dundee. He was at Southampton as a youngster when we were there. Let's see if there's any others of the originals remaining from when we were in charge. Well, he's not an original, but Archie Brown was the left back at Derby County. And he's now at Dundee, and he's gone via Hibs, one of our other former clubs. So there's an interesting one. He looks very good for this level. You've got to say, they're building a good side again. Kane Richie Hosler's there as a permanent player now. Not reached the heights he has in most of the other saves we've done this year. But he was wonderful for us. He delivered so much. He was a crucial part of that Scottish Cup success. And he then went back to Rangers. But he's found his feet at Dundee for a second stint. And I'm glad to see him doing well there after a long time away. In terms of the rest of the squad, I was looking for all those brilliant youngsters that we had here. But I can't see any of them involved in the squad. Have Dundee won anything else apart from the Scottish Championship? I just wonder if they won maybe an SPFL Trust Trophy or something like that. It doesn't look like it. No more Scottish Cups, of course. They were runners-up in 2026. You've got to give them that. And runners-up in the League Cup. And nearly did a cup double a couple of years after we went. But not much more success and only a couple of original stars there. Hibernian was our following club. We left them in second place, doing a brilliant job to go to Derby. But we finished 3rd the season before. We did okay in Europe. And their key player is still Matthias Boggerts. What a player he was. He wasn't our best player on paper, but he just couldn't stop scoring. And he seems to have the same trait now. 7 goals, 12 assists. He's done a wonderful job for them. Played as an ever-present. 260 league games. He's got 30 caps for Poland too. Looks great. Semenyo was there when we left the club. He's now the captain and has had a good spell there, to be fair. Scoring at about 1 in 3. I'd expect there might be a few more there. Of course, one of the stars, Lee Farrell, is now with us at Tottenham. They've still got Gunnarsson in goal. He was fantastic as well. 223 appearances. So they've got a lot more of a settled side. Jimmy Dunn's still there at centre-half. We had him in our whole spell. Josh Doig's still there at left-back, which is pretty remarkable given the clubs he was linked with. And even now at 28, he's still wanted by Celtic. Anyone else in there we recognise? Not in the starting 11. Nat Dunn on a bench. We had him at Southampton too, didn't we? We did. Another one of the Southampton ones showing up somewhere else. I think, looking in that 11, that Uzi Shearing, was he not that right winger who was out on loan a lot of the time? He was. He's now made 90 appearances for the club. Ryan Porteous is transfer listed at 31. He's just fallen out of favour the last year. And then further down, I think that's about it. But a few more recognisable names there. I guess it was only 5 or 6 years ago rather than 10. But good to see that there's still a few of them about. They actually finished second again this season. So they broke the old firm. They finished second behind Celtic, only 5 points behind. So they're actually above Rangers and in the Champions League places. They've done that 2 years ago as well, and the rest of them, they've just been third consistently. So we seem to start that run of consistent finishes for the club. Let's see if they've won anything as well. They won the League Cup 2 years in a row, the year we left and the year after. They won the Scottish Cup in 2025 and were runners-up last year. They were also runners-up in the League Cup a couple of times. So actually, they've had a pretty good spell domestically. They're really starting to become a powerhouse, and they do appear to have split the old firm a bit. 2 seasons in 3. It's no longer a fluke, is it? So they're the Scottish clubs out the way. Then we made the move down to England. Derby County were our first club down south. And of course, we had that devastating playoff defeat. Then we left them top of the league to come to Southampton. It was almost the wrong decision. But for Derby, they've been a yo-yo club ever since. We've seen them every other year in the Premier League since we've moved into Premiership clubs. So they came up, they went back down, they came up, had a season up, and now they've gone back down again. Jason Knight and Max Bird still captain and vice-captain. Any others in there that were part of our squad? Ironically, I don't actually think there are. I'm just looking through them. They've got Zergova, a left-winger who we had at Charlton last year in FM21's head coach. But I don't actually recognise any of the other players that are currently at the club. And in fact, Ryan Connor was just coming through when we left, so I think he's a third one. And he's still in that situation, actually. But we only left 4 years ago, and they've got less familiar names than Hibernian have. That sort of shows why they've been so inconsistent and going up and down and up and down. That is a little bit interesting. I didn't expect to see that. Southampton were our first new club since the last review. We left Derby at the top of the Championship to go there. It looked like we were going to keep them up at a canter, but we drifted, and in the end, we relied on the last 10 minutes on the last day of the season. Goals for us and goals elsewhere are what helped us survive. We didn't do the job ourselves. We stayed in the Premier League, and then we really made it worthwhile. Following that summer, the director of football was brilliant. We finished up in 5th place. We took them into Europe. We did really well. And then we left them for Tottenham. That's our current club. We'll talk about that in a moment. We know there's loads of the familiar names here because we've played against them this season. The likes of Baratinha, Campes, Figueiredo, Major, Saravakos Jr. All players who were so good for us. It looks like Zvolkov's leaving them. He's going to Aston Villa next summer. Seems a little bit strange that they've let him go. But in terms of these stars, we were hoping they'd develop into a really, really good team. Baratinha's become exceptional. Figueiredo's not actually improved that much. Major has got a bit better, but not significantly. Saravakos, well, he might be the best centre-half in the world there. 20 tackling, 16 marking, passing, heading, determination, pace, stamina. He's got everything. Saravakos is sublime. Louis Jr. is a little bit behind him. But Saravakos, even by our team standard, would be 4-star ability. He's worth 62 million and he's playing for the side that narrowly escaped in 14th place. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So whatever club we go to next, we wouldn't be shocked to see a reunion. What about Stephen Hilton though, the 19-year-old Colombian? He was the man we were really excited about joining, and then we obviously left before he came. He's still a wonder kid, he's very good. I've got a feeling he's going to be world class as well. The next one, Ian Gilligan, is still very good too. So they have produced a good side, and you'd argue they've disappointed this year. Thursler on the left wing hasn't progressed as much as we'd have expected. Adam Brown's out on loan but looks perfectly capable of playing for them. So it's a bit of a bizarre set of circumstances that have left them in that position where they're just sort of languishing in lower mid-table and getting involved in relegation battles. But we obviously left them to come to Tottenham. We were actually below them in the league when we joined. We overtook them. We got up to 6th. We got into Europe. We nearly won a Europa League. We lost in the final. But we did sneak that Premier League title. We'll never know how Manchester United bottled it. On the final day at Villa, again, it wasn't us doing our job. It was someone else failing to do theirs. So Tottenham won the title the first year. And then this year, they've won everything else. 3 cup successes. Narrow, squeaky extra time victories in the final last time out. But what a side we've got. A side that hadn't won something for 20 years and now 4 trophies in 2 seasons. We're a Tottenham legend and we've got to look for our next move. So there's a little brief glimpse at our career and how all our previous sides are getting on. Of course, it's a bit of a shame to see that the Scottish sides hadn't really been able to keep up the success we brought, bar Hibernian perhaps. But in England, Derby and Southampton have dropped off too, so perhaps it shows what a good job we were doing, the fact that they've struggled without us. Either that, or the director of footballs have gone as well. I'm not going to look at all of them, but I think after being such a cult hero, we've got to check to see if Pat Nevin's still involved. He will be getting on now. He's still there! Oh, you legends. Pat Nevin is still director of football at Brechin City. I take my hat off to you, Pat. He's still a king. He's still doing it at Brechin. What a legend. We just need to get him at a reunion. Wherever we go for our retirement league, he'll be about 70 by then. If we end up in the MLS, Australia, China, somewhere like that, we've got to go and take Pat with us. It's the only rule I'll ever break. But for now, great to see him still at Brechin and hopefully helping to move back up Scottish League 2. But before we go, let's very quickly move on to the leagues and have a look at how they've been going. We'll go through the English pyramid, see if there's any big surprises. I think if I remember rightly, last time the biggest one was Plymouth down in the National League. So let's see what it's like this time. No real shocks in the Premier Division. We've been around here for 4 or 5 years now, and there's not really been anything untoward. Only one division's difference, a few Championship sides coming up, and a few others going down. But realistically, it's nothing we wouldn't really expect. In terms of the Championship, Newcastle have won the playoffs to come back up alongside Sheffield United and Norwich. Going down, Mansfield were in the Championship. They've gone back down with Colchester, who have also gone up 2 divisions, and Sunderland, who were just sort of yo-yoing between the two. No sign of my beloved Luton Town there, which is a worry. Crystal Palace in League One. Lost to Charlton in the playoff final. Luton stuck in mid-table there. Pompey and Rotherham came up, with Rochdale, Oldham, Walsall and Grimsby going down. So what's happened to Palace? They got relegated from the Championship last year. Look at that decline. 4th in the Championship, then 13th, then 19th. Because that season they finished 3rd, 24-25, is when they battered our Derby side in the playoffs. Well, they came back from whatever it was, 4-1 or 5-1 down, and beat us in the second leg so heavily. But they are in sharp decline. We'll keep our eyes on them the next 5 years. Not many massive changes aside from that. Preston down in League 1, 1 division change, but not a huge amount either way. Let's go down to League 2 then. The playoff final was won by Ebbsfleet, who will go back up to League 1. They're alongside Plymouth, who have recovered from the National League and are back up to League 1 with Bolton and Fleetwood. Barnet and Tranmere out the Football League. York up from the National League North in League 2. They're doing a solid job. Wrexham up there as well. Wigan down in the 4th tier still. Northampton a relegation from the start. I guess Wycombe because they're Championship at the start of the save, but obviously they've gone down in real life, so I don't think you can call it a major shock. Oxford down a division, but nothing else spectacular. The National League though, and look at the 2 clubs that have come up. 2 that were promoted from League 2 in real life just this last week or so. And now they're both getting promoted from the National League here. Wimbledon have dropped 2 divisions. They're back in non-league. Exeter are in non-league. Newport have dropped down. Anybody else in there? Harrogate back down. Not a massive shock, I guess. The 4 going down, there's no surprises. So I think it's more clubs going down than vice versa. Because I don't recognise any names there that wouldn't have been in the North or South at the start. In the North, Stockport coming back up via the playoffs. They beat Kettering and joined Barrow. Up with 112 points, but a 2 division drop for them as well. No big surprises going down. Anyone else in the league that we don't expect to see? I don't think so. It looks to be only 1 division either way again. And finally the South. Chelmsford win the playoffs. They are behind Bath City, the champions. Bromley, Torquay down a division. Weymouth, Dagenham, quite a few actually. Dorking, our FM20 club, are still in there. Hemel Hempstead relegated. They're yo-yoing a bit down the bottom of that league. But again, no massive shocks. I think it's pretty much as we expected. A lot of them have evened themselves out now. So probably Palace the biggest shocks. If we look at the FA Cup, it's still all the big boys. Of course, we won it this year with Tottenham. But before that, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool and United with 1 each. City really dropping off now, actually. The League Cup, Chelsea won it 2 years in a row. United 2 years before that. And us this season against Sheffield United. Championship opposition in the final. But of course, they went on to win England's 2nd tier. So they're always going to be a good side. And now it's a Premier League fixture again. We lost the Community Shield to Chelsea. All the big boys winning that as you'd expect. The EFL Trophy, 3 under-21 victories. Stoke must have been in League 1 at some point. And Rochdale won it too. And then the FA Trophy last. Barrow won it from the National League North this year. They must have some side, because they've been up there near the top of the league for 3 or 4 years in a row. Their star player is pretty good, I would say. But maybe you wouldn't expect them to do the double, but a fantastic achievement nonetheless. Plymouth, Cambridge, Altrincham and Stockport the 4 years before that. 4 very good teams again. So that's what English football looks like. Let's move over to Scotland, where we finally saw a Rangers title success. It's the only save where Rangers haven't won it the first year. They didn't win it at all in the first 5, but they broke the duck the 6th season. But now they're back into a spell of 4 in a row without, and have even been regularly overtaken by Hibs, so that's got to be of concern to them. Into the Championship, any big successes? Doesn't look like it. Aberdeen were down there in Season 6. That's perhaps a surprise. Our former club Dundee won it again in 2028. In League 1, Alloa, Airdrie, Queen of the South, Ross County, perhaps slight surprises, but nothing majorly shocking. And then in League 2, Kelty Hearts won it a couple of years ago, so they've obviously done pretty well. Clyde back up there, Cove Rangers, Elgin and Albion Rovers. No massive surprises. On to Europe, where of course we were successful this year, but 4 English victors in 5 seasons, and 4 different ones as well. Chelsea, Arsenal and United getting the others. The only one to break the trend was PSG, for whom I think it's their first ever Champions League title. On to the Europa League. Again, not many English sides here. That's the opposite way round. So Fenerbahce won it from Turkey. Really good success for them. Chelsea, Bayern, Porto and Monaco. A lot of big names, but perhaps a couple of surprises. Ones that were bigger in years gone by. And finally, the Europa Conference. City won it this year. They get themselves back into the Europa League despite struggling in the Premier League. Sevilla, Valencia, Lokomotiv Moscow and Lazio. So very much just English sides winning the Champions League and all the other nations succeeding in the other competitions. And don't forget, we've got most of the big leagues loaded still. It's not a case of we've only got England loaded, so all of those sides are going to be dominant. We've got most of Europe loaded and England's still dominating. Let's finish off very quickly by having a look at the European Championships. In 2024, of course, Holland won it. Portugal back to it in 2028. So producing very good players, despite the fact that Ronaldo will have been gone and a few of that older generation. But they've got a great goalkeeper from Manchester United. The rest of those 6 look real, actually. Fabio Silva's become a world-class player in this save. But they're a really good side, so no huge shocks there. Let's have a look at who won the 2026 World Cup. Of course, the 2030 edition is just about to take place. So you can see it's just going on there. But Italy won the 2026 World Cup. So what sort of squad have they got? They've got a 23-year-old from Borussia Dortmund who is just about the best player I've seen. That is a stunning footballer. Surely a Ballon d'Or winner in the making. They've got a centre-half at Real Madrid who's a world-class regen. Donnarumma at Chelsea, still a top goalkeeper. And then a couple of players at Inter who are very good. Nicolo Barella, very well known, now 33. Bastoni at Liverpool, we've talked about a bit. It's a world-class side. So absolutely no shocks that they managed to win that. But that's where we are at 10 years, our second bookmark in the series. I'd imagine that the next one will probably be the last, given where we are in our career. We're going to try and do a tour of a couple of the super clubs and win some big competitions across the continent. And then we might go for a little retirement party later on. But it does depend what jobs come up. It might be an international job next. Who knows? We'll wait and see. If you're looking forward to that though, and you did enjoy this little review, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe down below for daily content from 2 long-term stories. Will we be at Tottenham in the next episode at the Head Coach? Your guess is as good as mine, so I hope to see you there to find out if we are. In the meantime, you can catch up with all the other playlists in the eye above, as well as the Food Channel trailer which came out last week. And please do check out the Twitch channel in the description below, where we have regular live streams from FM21. But a big thanks for watching, for joining along as always. I do greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next time for another big episode of The Head Coach as we start season 11. But which club will we be at? I'll see you next time to find out.